Today I am 10 days sober again. I've been 10 days sober many times in my life, but this time it's the real one. How do I know? Come with me on this journey to find out. My name is Dean. This is my sobriety story where I share with you the tips, tricks, and things that I've done over the years to help me quit drinking and how I quit for 2 years and felt better than I ever have. And in this video, I'm looking at why did I relapse? This is the second part to a long video. In the first one, I looked at how long does it take to heal from alcohol. This is the continuation of that. So if you haven't seen that, check it out in the card now. That'll take you to part 1. But you can watch this on its own if you are interested in knowing how did I quit for 2 years, feel better than ever, and then still somehow relapse. What's up with that? I want to start this off with the tool that I used to identify that drinking is becoming a problem. Now, this took a long time to cultivate, but once you got it down, you can never, ever unsee it. And that is, it's very simple, identify when you're lying. Now, this can be either lying to yourself or lying to other people, and usually it's interwoven and meshed into the same thing. Usually you lie to other people first, but then the second part of that lie is that you start believing your own bullshit. And that's where time passes and months later you realize, oh my God, I'm in hot water. I've done a whole bunch of shit that I'm in trouble in. And this all started off the lies. If I can be dead honest with you, the lies were way more destructive than the alcohol, but they're inseparable. I was lying because of alcohol. So when I reached the point just over 10 days ago to say, that's it, I need alcohol out of my life, it was yet again the realization that I had been lying. I had gone through a phase where I was drinking responsibly again for a very long time. And by responsibly, I mean really responsibly, like literally only having one beer or literally only having one glass of wine for months at a time. I was doing so well and it wasn't really bothering me in my life. And then one day it started to creep up again. No surprise. About 3 weeks ago, it was the 10th of July, a big festival here in Portugal, and it was mayhem. It was party everywhere, and I quickly fell into that, you know what? I think I'm going to allow myself a party today. And I had a big blowout. It was fun. I drank quite a lot of beer to the point that, yes, I did get sick again. God damn it. And the next day I was hungover, watched movies, ate junk. Here we are again. Hadn't been there in 3 years. And I lay there almost nostalgic going, remember this? I used to do this all the time. I was actually feeling quite okay. And I also told myself, this is fine. You're not going to do this again. Maybe you'll do it next year. Maybe same time, same place next year, but not until then, right? That's cool. Are you feeling guilty? No, I'm fine. That was okay, right? Checked with my wife. She seemed happy. I was fine. Everybody was good. Life's good. I did say to myself on that Monday, just to be safe, let's just rein it in a little bit. Come the following weekend, I was invited out with a friend and I had a beer. I had 2. Later that evening, my wife meets up with me and kind of goes, you have a beer? Not judging, just questioning, because I had said earlier that week that, I wanted to stay away for a while. Let's give it 30 days. Let's give it till the end of the month. And the first thing that I said to her was, yeah, I just had a little one. Like a slap in the face. I lied. I assumed she knew I was lying too. I couldn't be sure, but I knew I was lying and I heard it. And the next day, I realized alcohol got me again. This moment of clarity of how much I had bullshitted myself for the last few months of I'm doing this responsibly, yet again, completely and utterly fooled me. I could not be trusted. The truth is that moment the first drink touches my damn lips, I can't trust myself. I can believe myself, my intentions are good, but I can't trust it. It's just not trustworthy. Okay, so that's how I stopped again. But let's look more at how did I start again? Because I think that's the more interesting point here, is that I was on such a good ride, good place. Where did it come in? I think it's important to know that I quit drinking about 2 months before also moving from my home country of South Africa to Portugal. I arrived in Portugal, which is a very drinking friendly country, sober. I stayed here for a year and a few months before going back to South Africa for the first time, sober. I arrived here and I left here sober. I spent the entire time here without a drink. And I built a new identity for myself, and that was easy. It was only when I landed back in South Africa and went to visit my parents, and we were having a braai, barbecue, South African barbecue, and, and that's where I first started to want to almost and kind of did slip. The first drink I had was a glass of wine with my mom, and it was amazing. I had such a good time. Other than that, on the rest of my trip, I probably had another 2 or 3 beers, and that was about it. Came back to Portugal a few weeks later, and something was slightly different. It's also important to know that this time I moved here, that I was moving my life here, so I sold my car and everything and moved my life to Portugal. This time also my wife finally was able to come over and join me, and we were living here now, making a new life for ourselves. And this was so difficult. The pressure to try and get this right, to find us a good place to live, to help her find a new job, to just basically get our finances, our social life, our work life, our routines, all of this together was just an immensely difficult time. There was the new financial pressure, the stress, trying to also still build up a business in the same time in a foreign country, not knowing the language. And by this point, I was also missing home, like extremely missing home. Not just being there and being with my parents and my friends, not seeing them get older, missing out on a big chunk of that in my life, and my sister too. That was all so far away. But also the lifestyle that I had there. The fact that I'm used to having a car and driving to wherever I want, whereas here everything's public transport. So it was a complete and utter change of life. The previous year was an adventure, and now it was reality. It was and with that, I lost the identity that I had in the previous year, which was somebody who arrived in a new place. I was a non-drinker. I made friends and relationships with people who identified with me as, yeah, Adine doesn't drink. They had never seen me drink, and I was fine with that. Now this was starting to all fall apart. I also had a great expectation of my life to be better moving here, which in many ways it has been, but the expectation was to see myself thrive, to see the business, take off. This was Europe. It was always all going to be different. And the opposite happened. Things in the business were very difficult at the time. I was putting out fires on all sides. And somewhere in between there, the notion that that first glass of wine had slipped past my lips just a few weeks ago, it all got blurry. And I basically started slipping slowly again into a cycle where it happened. And the one thing that was missing the most was some form of external support. I felt like I had to take this on my own. I felt like I had been through this before. I had quit on my own the first time. I can do it again. But what I failed to realize is that I didn't try to quit on my own just, about a year and a half earlier. In fact, I tried to quit 10 years prior, and I had amassed a knowledge of different tools and skills and things that led me up to the point where I was able to quit. Going to AA at 23 played its part. It gave me a sense of community at the time. And although I misused it or abused it or failed in my AA journey technically, I did learn something from it. And then I went into a different type of lesson, and then I read a different type of book, and from each one I pieced something together until I arrived at the point that I quit. And this time I had arrived at a point where I knew this is not going anywhere good. This is going to go. I know how this ends. I know what's happening to me here. here right now. I've been through this. I know I actually want to go back to where I was. I don't want to drink. I don't want this. But all the pressure added to not having some form of external support, I couldn't do it. And so I've arrived at this point just 10 days ago where I realized I need some form of accountability again. Whether I go join a group or I start this channel and I start talking about this, doesn't matter what I do. There are other ways that you can do this. You can also get just a friend that you do this with and you hold each other accountable. There are many ways. The point is that I needed to do something to get that sense of support. Even if I am doing this myself, I feel supported by making this a public journey. As I said in the previous video, the change that can happen happens in a split second. And that happened for me 10 days ago. And by now, having this accountability, this is on the internet, this is out there, this is not going to go backwards. I feel like I'm right back at where I was about a year ago when I wasn't drinking. I can enter a room and have that identity again. And all I needed to do was accept the quest again. I can't be 100% certain that I will ever be able to get rid of the title, I am an alcoholic. I might have to carry that for the rest of my life. And if that is the case, then so be it. But I do know that from this failure, going into this start again process, that I really don't want to. I don't want to go back to drinking. I don't want to. Just the last 10 days alone, I have been so much happier. I have wondered why people around me are somehow better. And it's actually me. It's actually them reflecting back to me how I'm behaving. At work, I am just way more focused, way more committed. I've been waking up and making these videos before work and getting them out, and then still going to work and working a full day and still going to the gym and keeping myself healthy. I don't know if I can keep this up forever, but right now, this is actually like an engine just going, let's go. Let's make the best life possible. And so, as I've said to you, that's why these videos exist. And I am doing this so that I have that accountability to myself. But I have made this public and I'm welcoming you to join me on this journey. So for those of you that have already started commenting on my previous video, thank you. You have no idea what that does for me. It literally makes me feel like I'm not alone. Fuck. So, yeah. Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. And I'm so grateful that I can do this. And if I can help anybody else in any way, then I'm glad I made these videos. So let me just pull my shit together. Okay. I'm going to close this off by saying the important part is not that you fail. It doesn't matter that I had a year and a half sober and then failed. The only thing that matters is that you get back up on the horse and you feel good about it. And that's exactly where I am right now. And I hope for you that you can reach that point where you have that moment of clarity and then that you get the right support for yourself to keep that moment alive. Don't let the lies of alcohol let you fall back in. And if they do, pat yourself on the back, say it's okay, and do it again. And it is entirely possible that you may have to do this many times. It is also possible that this could take a lifetime of you trying, but it does get easier with each restart. And it does get easier that the more that you replace alcohol with other positive things in your life. So that's exactly why in the first video I said you have to accept the quest, because that's the moment your identity changes. I accept this identity shift. And the second video I made was about replacement habits. This is absolutely vital. Now, the third part that I'm adding to this, how to recover, is that you need to get some form of support involved. So although it might take a lifetime to recover, it only takes a moment to feel better, and you can constantly feel better and better and better and better for the rest of your life. In this series, I've spoken about the adventure of quitting alcohol, the adventure of self-development and self-discovery. And I'd like to open that up in the next video into 3 categories of adventure that everybody in this world has access to, whether you do have a lot of money or not, or the freedom to move around or not, is completely irrelevant. They are the 3 most important adventures you could ever have, and we all have access to them. And that's the next video. Yes! Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And please contribute your stories in the comments. And if you don't want to go too public with that, that's perfectly fine. I'll leave an email address in the description if you want to reach out to me directly. That's cool too.